Hi everyone, welcome back to Azure AI Show. I'm your host and guest for this show series, Stephen Simon. I act as a regional community director at CSharpCorner, and what a lovely Monday it has been. In today's session, we're going to talk about really exciting stuff that is about automated ML, something that if you have a machine learning or data science background, you are definitely going to love it. So even before I go ahead and get started, welcome everyone to the Azure AI Show. And if you are someone who is joining us for the very first time, we do this Azure AI Show on every Monday at 7:30 p.m. IST and at 10 a.m. Eastern Time Zone. And if you are some of our friends joining us from Europe, we do it at 4 p.m. Central Eastern Summer Time Zone. So every Monday, the same time, you will find me here talking about the different products and demos and presentations from the Azure AI and machine learning ecosystem. Apart from that, we have a show called CSharpCorner MVP show that we do on Wednesday, same timing. Also, then we have CSharpCorner AMA show that we do on Thursday, 7:30 p.m., 10 a.m. Eastern Time Zone. And again, we have a growth mindset that goes on Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. So if you are someone who's watching us today, let me know in the comment section below to which location you belong, so that will help us understand to how many people are joining and from which location. So drop me in the comment section below from which location you're joining, and I'll bring it into the live stream. So in today's session, we're going to talk about the automated ML that is pretty exciting, right? And if you don't know about where I go and post these shows, I'm going to put a link in the description, right? So if you just go to csharpcorner.com and okay, let me put the link and copy link address. I'm going to put it into the comments. There you go. So if you go to csharpcorner.com/chapters, you're going to find about the all upcoming live shows that I do, and even my entire team does we do it. You'll find all the details over there. So I've added link in the description. Hi, Kiran. You're joining us from India. Definitely, I can see that. Thank you so much for mentioning over there. So let's go ahead and get started with today's show, and that is about automated ML, right? And even before I go and talk about what is automated ML, let me go and actually talk about the challenges that we, as a data scientist or someone who's working in the field of machine learning AI faces. So if you do not have a data science background, here's the problem. I can explain it to you. That unlike your programming, unlike your other programmings or framework, right? If you face a problem in the programming, what it's actually do is that you can go over to the internet, you can search some of the code snippets, and that should definitely help you out. But what happens with the data science is that it's your data and it's only up to you, and you just cannot share it, right? So there are many challenges when you go out and start working with the data, and you just cannot share it, and the problem is only with you. So what happens with here is that you actually have to go ahead and work around on what can be the best possible permutation and combination and algorithm that you should actually use, so that your machine learning models gives you the perfect output, I mean, with the best accuracy. And this is very much time consuming, and this is where Microsoft Azure automated machine learning comes into play. All right, so let's go ahead and get started and see what exactly automated machine learning is, right? So that's my presentation, right? Orange and blue matching with the CSharpCorner theme. Let me also pull up the logo. Perfect. All right, so what is actually automated machine learning, or we also call it automated ML? This is actually a process of automating the time-consuming iterative task of machine learning model development. Very much descriptive, right? Now what it is actually saying, it's going to help you to save your time consuming, right? All the repetitive tasks that you do when you have to build a machine learning model, that is going to help you out. And eventually when this happens, right, it just opens the entire ecosystem for you to go ahead and build better machine learning models. And when you use automated machine learning, what it actually helps is you can now go ahead and build high scale machine learning models, which are pretty efficient. At the same time, they're very productive. And the reason is all this finding the best algorithm, applying feature engineering, All this is actually done by automated machine learning, and you just need to go ahead and give some of the inputs that, hey, I want this to be the target value. This is my data sets. I want you to perform. Go ahead and do it. So what automated machine learning will do is it will go over there, right? It will test all the algorithms available, look at the now find the best features that should suit for your target value, and then eventually it is going to give you the output. We are definitely going to look on how it actually performs, but here's a quick slide that talks about that. When do you actually want to use automated machine learning? So you actually use automated machine learning when you want Azure machine learning to train and tune a model for you using the target metric you specify. And here's something to note when I say to train and tune a model for you. Now you can of course go ahead and start training a machine learning model, right? But the challenge is you have to reach a good percentage, right? Your accuracy should be very good. So that is where the tuning of machine learning model comes, and that is where this Azure AutoML really works great. So if you are someone to go ahead and want to build a very fine-tuned Azure machine learning model, then you should definitely opt for AutoML. And the second thing to note here, it says using the target metric you specify. Now, in the auto or ML or automated machine learning, you need to go ahead and tell that what you want to predict, right? At the very first place, you need to define that what are the columns and what are the features that you are actually going to use to train your machine learning models, and what exactly you want to predict. So that is something you have to specify at the very first place. So if you are someone who wants to uh, go ahead and start working with Azure machine learning models and make sure that it works perfectly fine and saves your time, this is something you should definitely go ahead and opt it. Now, the key benefit of this using AutoML is that this data science machine learning is very much oriented to the guys who have been working it for a dedicated time, right? But with this automated machine learning, you can just go ahead and implement ML solutions without extensive programming knowledge. You just need to understand the flow of how AutoML works, how to provide the data, some of the processes. That is very easy. In the coming episodes, or I think I should say in the very next episode, we are going to look at one of the demos on it. But if you are someone who comes from a decent programming background, right, so you can definitely go ahead and get started with AutoML, and it is definitely going to give you some really good outputs. One of the best thing that, as I always said, is of course saves your time and resources. Imagine you are given a data set and now you need to figure out which algorithm to use and what should be the best practices that should help you get the better output. So what happens with this AutoML is that it's going to tell you the best algorithms, the best features that you should be using, and it's going to give you all the top 3% of the models that should work best for you. And of course, when it saves time, it also saves the resources, because yeah, because when you're training a model, right, you're actually, that's computational of computation that you are investing. So that's again the prize money. So of course it does that. The third benefit of using AutoML is that you can now go ahead and leverage the benefits, the best practices of data science. Now, when you go ahead and start doing things from very scratch, there are possibilities that you will do things wrong, right? There are definitely possibilities that you may be doing something wrong, or you may be copying the codes from somewhere. But this AutoML has a very fine-tuned process of making sure that it gives you machine learning model in a very much fine and precise way, and it makes sure that it follows all the data science best practices. So when you go ahead and train, give your any of the data set and make sure that, hey, I need to get the best output or the best training model for it, it's going to follow the best data science practices and give you the best output. So that is also a key thing to note. And provide agile problem solving, definitely that always comes into it when you go ahead and start working with the AutoML. As I said, this show is going to be again just for like 25 or 30 minutes. That's all. We're almost down to like 12 minutes, and I'm gonna talk little more, maybe like 20 minutes, and then we're gonna wrap it up. If you have any questions, you can just drop in the comments. And in the next episodes, what we're gonna do is we're gonna have an entire demo of this AutoML. So this show is very important so that you can follow along with the upcoming shows. So let's move on to the next topic that we have is the steps involved in AutoML. Very, very fundamental. and very important to understand is when you want to go ahead and get started, what are the steps involved in the AutoML. So the very first thing is you want to identify machine learning problems, right? That can be classification, forecasting, or regression. Quickly to talk about classification, it is about you give your machine, you give your model to talk about, hey, these are the certain categories. So when there's a new input coming, the new input should be in which category. It's more like about the categorization, right? Just suppose if you are if there's a school, right, and the school has different classes, and there's a new student coming in, you need to decide that that student will go to first standard or third standard or a fourth standard, right? So you need to actually classify the new incoming student, right? So that is actually the classification. So you can of course do that. You can definitely do for forecasting when you need to actually go ahead and predict something out, that maybe your car sales, it may be the your revenue expenditure that you're doing. And definitely the regression, one of the very basic and fundamental problem that we solve using machine learning is to find out the relation between an input and an output, and it actually gives you a numerical output. So these are the three things, broadly speaking, that you can actually classify your machine learning problem, that what you actually want to solve. And once you have done that, the next thing is to actually choose what platform you want to go for. Now, if you are someone who comes from a decent programming background, like maybe some other web development framework, or maybe a mobile app framework, you do understand the development process, but you are very new to the data science, what I would suggest that you go ahead and start using Studio Web Experience. So this AutoML can be done in two ways. Either you can do with Python SDK, or you can do with Studio Web Experience. Now, if you are a data science enthusiast and you have been working with Python, you understand the importing of the data sets and all that, right? So definitely you should check it out, Python SDK. We are definitely going to do Python SDK too, maybe in the fourth or fifth episode. We are going to work on the Python SDK too. But if you are someone, as I said, who come from a decent programming background but do not have a data science background, you should be using Studio Web Experience, which is actually a low code, no code approach, where you actually use the Azure portal to go ahead and start training your machine learning models, and that should give you a very, very nice side. So there's no code involved over there. So that's the benefit. All right. So that brings us to the step number 3, and that is specify the source and format of the label training data. It can be NumPy, arrays, or pandas. Simply to mean that now you have actually identified, in the step 1, you have identified what is the problem, right? What do you want to do? In a step 2, you have decided that which platform to choose. Okay, let's suppose we have chosen Studio Web Experience, right? We're not an experienced data scientist. We come from a different development background. So I'm going to go for Studio Web Experience, which is actually a low code, no code. Now, once I've done that, what I need to do is I need to go ahead and provide the data to my environment, right? It may be with the Python SDK or with my Studio Web Experience. I need to go ahead and give a data to my ecosystem, and that can be that can be in any form. It can come from an Excel file, or maybe from an external resource. There are many ways you can go ahead and add it. So the third step is to go ahead and provide the data. Very, very simple. I mean, in the coming episodes, we're going to see on how different ways you can use it to go ahead and provide the data sets in your machine learning ecosystem. Now, once you have provided data, make sure it can be a labeled data, or it can be an unlabeled data. You can definitely, in the classification, it is okay if it doesn't have a labeled data. Now that you can actually define that in your when you go ahead and select the data, and you can also remove or add some of the columns over there. Definitely, we are going to look at in the practicality in the coming episodes of this Azure AI Show. The fourth step is to actually configure the compute target for model training. So what does it mean? We're going to talk about it very in detail in the coming 3 to 4 slides. But when you go ahead and start training your machine learning models, you either have two options. Either you can go ahead and start using a local machine, right? Or you can use the computation power of the Azure. Now, since this is an Azure AI show, right, I'm going to ask you to, we're going to do it on the cloud, but in the later sessions, I'm also going to tell you how you can use the local machines computation. Now, which one to choose? Which one is good? Either you should use local computation or you should choose remote computation. That is something we are going to look in the coming slides. But if you are someone who is just getting started, I would definitely suggest you to go ahead and use the remote, that is the cloud, because that is quite easy, especially in the low code, no code environment, and that should definitely help you out. To all the guys who are joining us right now, it looks like there's a good number of people joining us right now. So quickly, I'll tell once again that we do this live show every Monday at 7:30 p.m. IST and 10 a.m. EDT. So go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Why not subscribe it? Right, and I'll catch you every Monday at the same time. Right, if you're watching us me right now, every Monday same time I'm gonna talk about this Azure AI show. All right, let's get back to the business. All right, so that was step number 4, is to actually figure out whether you want to use a remote service that or you want to use a local computation, right? We're gonna come back to this later and talk a little more in detail. All right, now let's move to the step number 5, is to configure your automated machine learning parameters. Now, what does this actually mean? Now, see, when you go ahead and give your machine learning the data sets, right, you actually need to define on what are your dependent variables and what are your independent variables, right? That is very, very important. And when I say that, I in a very layman's language say, hey, you want to tell that this is the data set I want, this is the data that I want you to train, and this is the data I actually want to predict. I mean, using this data, I want to predict this data. Now, many more features like this, you can go ahead and actually tell your automate ML ecosystem that before you go ahead and get started, and that is very important. Remember, what you select is definitely going to affect your machine learning percentage. So make sure that you understand your business problem very nicely, and that is going to help you out to select on what data to select and what to actually predict. I think understanding this should be your very fundamental, and even before you go and get started, you should understand your business problems that you're going to solve it. That brings us to this step number 6, is submit the training. That's it. Once you have done that, once you've followed the rest first 5 steps, you can now submit your data and start training your machine learning model. Now, even before you do this, there are a lot many different parameters you can define, that hey, you want to include a certain algorithm or you want to remove a certain algorithms, or there are certain estimators you want to add or not. You can definitely do that, and we are definitely going to look those in the coming live show. That is next Monday. We are going to have a demo, so definitely we are going to cover that too. And once you have just submitted a training model, review the results. That's it. I mean, you have given the data, you have defined everything. Now you need to go ahead and review the results. And let's actually see on how actually it does it, right? So what you've actually done in this all steps, what has actually happened is, you see this user input, right? So what you have actually done is you have given the data set, right? And you have also defined what you actually want to predict, right? You have given the target metrics that, hey, this is something that I want to define from the given data sets. And then again, you have added some of the constraints that, hey, these are the data I want to use. I want you to remove so and so. These are the algorithms that I want to use. These are the algorithms I want you to remove. Definitely, you can go ahead and do that. And once you have provided, the user has provided all this input, the automated machine learning is what it is going to do. It is going to take your data, is going to add some algorithms, it is going to take the parameters, and then it is going to predict, give you the training scores. And then it is going to do for all the possibilities. Look at the all permutation combination, it goes up to n, right? So imagine if you had to do this thing on your own. My goodness, if you are working on a client's project and you're really spending so much of time just to figure out on what combination of feature algorithm and parameters really works for you, there's a lot of time, and that's definitely gonna cost you a lot, right? So you can definitely use automated machine learning, and this is going to give you a leaderboard that has ranks and models that work perfectly fine depending upon the score percentage. Pretty amazing stuff that Azure has brought in. I really love it that this really works, and this, since this follow data science best practices, this is something you should definitely go ahead and try it out. Uh, Now, all you did was you took the data set, you gave the target metric, you defined the time constants, and hey, It's all by automated machine learning, and it told you that what are the best machine learning model that works for you. Now you can go ahead and say that, hey, this one 95% works best for me, and I'm gonna use that. So there you go. Congratulations, you have saved your a lot of your time and also your computation and resources. That's how powerful the automated machine learning is. All right. So that moves us to the last section of this show, that is last 8 minutes, and that is we're going to talk about feature engineering. Now, what is actually feature engineering? If I just go ahead and take the definition from the internet, feature engineering is the process of using domain knowledge of the data to create features that help ML algorithms learn better. Tough, right? Just let me go ahead and just make it simple. Feature engineering is more like that when you go ahead and give the data set to your machine learning model to go ahead and train it, there are possibilities that there might be some missing values. There are possibilities that you want to go ahead and remove the duplicate values. There might be possibilities that across all the data sets, that all the data that you have given, you don't want to take all the columns that you have given. You might want to certainly move it. So all this comes into feature engineering. It's more like refining your data before even you give for before even you go ahead and start training your machine learning model. So this step, feature engineering, is very important when it comes to the any of the data science ecosystem, not just AutoML. And with context to this AutoML, they do have some of the inbuilt feature engineering, that may be a feature normalization, handling the missing data, converting text to numeric, and they're like one hot encoder, and many other stuff. This is the actual now by default what automated machine learning does is they do follow all these best practices, right? So even if you don't go ahead and define it, these are the things that automated machine learning is going to do it no matter you define it or not. And if you want to go ahead and do it, definitely you can do that, and we're gonna watch it into the coming episodes. So even feature engineering is taken care very nicely when it comes to the automated machine learning, which I think brings us to the compute target and versus remote. I think I did mention this. Okay, I think I don't have slides for this one. I'm gonna do is I'm gonna remove this one, and I'm gonna pull the. Okay, where's the banner? I'm gonna pull this banner. I'm gonna. There you go. Okay, that works perfect. All right, so hey, now we're gonna talk about compute targets, local versus remote. Here's what. Very simply, if you are using your computer or a laptop to train a machine learning model, that is local, right? Whereas if you're using someone else's computer, which is actually cloud computing, right? So if you're using someone else's server to train your machine learning model, that is remote, very simply. Now, how do you actually decide whether to use local or remote? I think I should say in the phase of testing, right? When you're testing your machine learning models and you have just started and you have a very small data set, right? I would suggest to use your local system, right? Or maybe a virtual environment in your ecosystem. And I think these days systems, even your laptops or computers are very much powerful. They can definitely go ahead and do it. Depending upon the data is less, right? Whereas if you want to go ahead and deploy your machine learning models, you want to go ahead and put that machine learning models in the production, definitely you want to go ahead and check out some of the remote services, right? So Azure has some of the amazing Azure virtual machines. Some of the virtual machines are very much dedicated to data science, right? Which comes pre-installed with scikit-learn, TensorFlow, PyTorch, with Python SDKs over there, Python environment all set. So if you are someone who really want to go ahead and put your machine learning models into the production, then I would say that remote compute targets are the best one. Now that's it for today's live show. I think we are just almost time. We are at 27 minutes. I don't go more than 30 minutes, right? So let's go ahead and quickly talk about the difference between the automated the what should I call it? Ooh, I forget it. The difference of okay, what's with the okay? Let's quickly talk about the Azure Machine Learning Studio and the Python SDK. Right, I've always said that in the upcoming video, right? Let me go ahead and also write it. Okay, all right. So uh, in the next episode. All right, in the next episode, what we are going to learn is we are going to have a practical implementation of automated machine learning with classification, regression, with using low code, no code, right? So, in the next episode on next Monday at 7:30 p.m. Indian time zone at 10 a.m. Eastern and 4 p.m. European, Central European Summer time zone, we're gonna talk about. We're gonna not talk. We're gonna have a hand demo on performing automated machine learning on regression and classification with low code, no code approach. And I'm going to set up the Azure free account that is available now. If you just go ahead and search for Azure, right? So let me just pull it over here. And let me bring it to the stream. Perfect. So if you just go ahead and search for Microsoft Azure and look at the very first slide, it says that you can go ahead and start for actually free. And if you just go ahead and click it, it provides you very good tons of resources. You can see 12 AI services now free for 12 months. How amazing is that, right? So I would definitely encourage you. I'm gonna give a link in the description, or sorry, in the comments. That there you go. So no credit card details required, right? You can just go ahead and straight away sign it up, and that should help you to go ahead and get a free Azure account. I really love this 12 AI services now free for 12 months, which should definitely help you out in the coming episodes of this Azure AI Show. And of course, tons of other products like you get virtual machines, Linux and Windows. You get databases, blob storage. We're definitely going to use blob storage in the coming show, and some of the services are always free like Azure Functions, DevTest Lab, Kubernetes, and all that. So go ahead and check the link in the comment section that I have given below to go ahead and create a free Azure account that we are going to use in the next episode, and look at the practical demos of automated machine learning in classification and regression in the coming episodes. Thank you so much for guys who have joined us today, and that's all I have for in this video. The next show is going to happen on next Monday, and keep following csharpcorner.com/chapters to with for all the upcoming live shows. And we also have the .NET virtual conference coming. Let me go ahead and pull that too. 2020, right? So there's a 2020.NET. So we have a .NET virtual conference coming, and if you want to go ahead and speak in that, want to be a speaker in that conference, you can definitely go ahead and do that. And call for speakers is still open, I think. So yeah, call for speakers are still open. You see, just go ahead and apply it. If you are someone who comes from a .NET background and want to be the speaker, we are shipping goodies to speakers, and everyone loves that. So thank you everyone who has joined us today. Thank you so much. My name is Stephen Simon. I am your host and guest. Take good care of yourself, and I'll catch you in the next episode of Azure AI series. And let me know on my Twitter, tag me that how did you like the episode, and if there's any feedback that you have for me. Thank you so much. Then take good care of yourself and have an amazing week ahead.